Oh, you need me to stop?
Yeah, you're good, Josh. We're good.
Alright, what's up, what's up? My name's Josh, Morales or whatever.
Shaune, you remember on the first one you said I did the worst intro possible? He's fighting me for that title.
I topped it, yes. Anyways, I guess we're going to be discussing chaos and order tonight, and what...
This is so bad.
Whatever. Whatever. You know what?
You don't ever talk like that.
We're discussing.
That's not how you even speak. You just turned into a different person to introduce this.
Hey, this is Josh. Hey, what's up?
We're discussing chaos and order tonight.
Surprised you didn't introduce yourself by your middle name. Like, what up, guys? I'm Antonio.
Fuck out of here.
Oh.
This Josh Morales or whatever.
Whatever. Anyways. Well. I'm done
Speaking
right
of chaos, that's what we
get it together.
Anyways, yeah. Talking about chaos and order tonight. It was something that's a very topic that stays in my mind a lot after I started researching about chaos theory. Do you guys know anything about that stuff?
Not particularly.
It's funny because, like, they spent hours and hours on, like, they spent years on this theory, and yet it states the obvious, but we'll get into that later, but I want to know what you guys think about chaos and order. Is it
more specifically what?
What is chaos? Is it actually even real, or is that just really our perception? Is order the same thing as chaos? So, what are your thoughts on it?
People always look at them as opposites. I don't see them as opposites. I see them on a spectrum. Because, you know, it's kind of like measuring like lightness and darkness. It's just like you can have order in your life and chaos, but it's just to varying degrees of which one. Yeah.
Well, what about let me ask you this too. Like in the universe, would you say the universe is completely chaotic? Is there even a such thing as absolute chaos?
No, I don't think so.
For the most part, they seem pretty sure that whatever goes on in the universe makes sense. Like, they know, even the things that they don't understand why it happens, they know that there's something, like, making it happen. It's part of it. Like, they've mapped out the universe. It's very similar to, like, a brain cell. Like, the actual way, like, everything is actually connected in the universe through those paths. Like, this is known. This is, like, an actual thing. So, it just looks chaotic. It sounds chaotic when you don't understand it, and we don't understand that much about it, but we understand enough to know that, I mean, what's happening is technically in order, at least universally speaking.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that. Like, it seems like it's ordered, or I'm sure it's ordered, but I feel like because we're inside of it, it looks like chaos to us because it's like, oh shit, shit's hitting us. And it's like, well, no, but if you were to step back from it, it's like, oh, this all makes sense.
I think it's because we don't matter in the grand scheme of it all. We're so we're so pointless if you look at a macro level of the universe itself that it has to look chaotic to us because we're meaningless.
Well, I think, you know, as far as humans go, chaos, it has a very strong like relationship to control. You walk outside, you get hit by a bus, somebody says, oh, that's chaotic. But then, like, if you really look at it...
I've never heard someone say that's chaotic.
Well,
that's a weird... I'm so sorry your son died. That's some chaotic shit, bro.
If shit like that happens to you all the time, people say your life is chaotic, but it's just like... That bus was going fast, and there was a lot of...
If you walked out of your house and someone got hit by a bus, and then you just saw, like, 40 people rush the bus and, like, tear apart with their hands and start looting the seats, that's fucking chaos.
And even in that one, it's just like, okay, you were hit by a bus. That bus was probably driving, doing something it should have done, just in a manner in which we don't normally control. people rush the bus and steal the shit, well, that makes sense if these people are fucking poor and this is the only real way they can get food. You know what I mean? Like, it's control. Like, if you take each of these smaller elements of a chaotic event and you, like, look at them, it makes sense. There's cause and then there's effect. And no, we don't really look at, like, what you were saying, like, with the universe. We don't really see that as chaotic because, you know, everything makes sense because, you know, there's little hope or desire for control over what happens out there. So,
to us, like, that particular situation is going to seem chaotic, right? But the way you just described it, Rob, is that's the order to it. There's cause and effect. Like,
yeah.
Like, if it was chaotic, you would get hit by a bus, and then maybe sometimes you would go through the bus. Maybe sometimes, you know, you would get hit by the bus and die. Sometimes you would just fly away. That's chaos. Chaos, like, doesn't have anything keeping it, like, static like that.
I think the thing to understand is that chaos, in terms of, like, us as people, it's not cause and effect to us. It's reaction of the effect.
Right.
We react chaotically to order. Is more than what, like, things that make sense. If we're not prepared for it, that's when chaos comes from it. That's why the universe isn't really chaotic, because we know, like we know what's happening. We know why it's happening. Like, we know what's making shit and stuff like that. That's why a bus hitting someone is not chaotic in and of itself, but the crowd that comes up to it might react in chaos to it.
Right.
It's just chaos in that standard. If you're looking at, like, a social standard, it's all reactionary, I think. I'm sure Josh has something to say, but he's coughing into his arm. So.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Anyways, I was gonna say, so could we say that chaos is an illusion and it's just hyper complexity?
It's not an illusion.
Maybe.
It's just it's a reaction to an effect. It's just a reaction.
Well, even then, let's say human reaction, right? Every person who reacts to it probably has a logical reason to why they reacted the way they did. So even then, there's just complexity. It looks like chaos when we're looking at them react.
No, it looks like chaos when there's multiple people reacting. You don't look at one person and think they're chaotic. You look at a group and think that they're chaotic.
No. That's what I'm saying. It looks chaotic when looking at a group. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's something I told Shaune earlier. Like, I don't have issues with individual people. I have issues with groups of people. Individual people could still be shitheads, but there's at least you can interact with a person and understand who they are. You can't ever really understand a group because there's too many minds in it.
Well,
you think so?
To a certain extent, but then there are, like, mobs that all group together to, you know, burn down Frankenstein's castle because of the monster, right? Like, there is mob mentality.
Groupthink is a real thing.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that whatsoever. That's what I'm saying is the problem. You can talk to a person, you can understand them, and you can really converse with them and make them potentially understand you. You can't do that with groups.
Well,
there's too many different things happening.
You actually could with a group.
I mean,
if you're a messiah, if the group is following you,
or if you speak really well, I don't think you have to be a messiah.
Or you're a corporation.
Charisma only affects it's depending on what the group is made of. Like, I'm not saying every group is the same. I'm not saying that some aren't, you know, just fucking anime clubs. Like, there's a difference between the anime club and fuck Jews Hitler club. There's a difference. Like, I get
you're
this.
right. That anime club is chaos. You are correct.
Anime is chaos.
Talking anime, I will end this hangout right this fucking moment. I will delete it from the internet.
Well,
I'll read some manga.
What's interesting too is that there's actually been a lot of research done on chaos, and if you guys look at chaotic patterns, what do you guys think about the fact that well, I have to show you guys, chaotic patterns always turn out to be the shape of a butterfly.
Oh, wait a minute. Before we get into that, define chaos. What is chaos? No, what is chaos?
Oh,
that
chaos.
is the problem.
Like, what actually is chaos? Because I don't have a definition for it.
Neither do I.
So I think we should have started there before we started
No,
going into everything
I was
else.
actually going to ask that a few minutes ago, but then I think I heard Shaune make his definition. I thought we were all going to do it. I was like, screw it. And yeah.
Well, I think all we talked about is really what causes chaos to happen, not what it actually is.
So what is chaos to you, Sherlock?
I don't know. I don't have a definition for it. That's like you said. You think about that a lot. I never think about chaos because normally when chaos comes up as a subject, it's in reference to like social chaos, like the getting rid of the government and going into anarchy, like that sort of shit. Like anarchy and chaos are thrown together a lot, and I just don't know enough about anarchy as it is to really have ever thought about chaos.
Okay. What about you, Rob?
I don't think it's a real thing. I think chaos is, like I said, it's on a spectrum, and it's all about control. To the extent to which we feel like there is some type of control on the situation.
So you think chaos is just like another word for lack of control? It's just like the low spectrum of control?
Yeah.
So it's just control. We just call it chaos instead of shit control, basically.
Well, I think it's more like it's not necessarily control or chaos. It's just whatever that particular scale is. It's either going to be on chaos or it'll go back to order. I mean, I'm speaking for Rob. I don't know what he's thinking, but like I don't think like it's like a. Oh, my bad. My bad. Go ahead. Look, let me tell you what you think.
I'm about to speak there, but I don't even know what he's thinking.
No, like I feel like it's a term to explain. The thing about chaos is I don't feel like it's a thing. I feel like it's a term to explain some shit that we can't control. We don't have a hard time with, like with the mob. That was a good example because like even if you look at that, like that's chaos, but there's a fucking cause and effect. People might rush that thing to sell it for scrap for, well, what? There's a need somewhere, right? And as a society, we don't like to think about how that shit operates. Well, how could we be in a position where there's that many people in one place willing to do something that drastic for a couple pennies? So we call that chaos. That lack of societal control. I don't think there's like control in nature, simply because, I mean, if there is chaos, then I don't see shit working the way it would need to, because the universe would fucking fall apart. You know what I'm saying?
So do you think that basically chaos is like when something happens that even if it's a reasonable reaction, if it was an unexpected reaction, it could be chaotic. So something like, like overthrowing a government over, like I don't even remember which fucking country that's happening in at the moment or when it was, but
the Ukraine.
Always
the Ukraine or something like that. But we can understand why they're doing it, but because we weren't expecting it to happen, it appears chaotic in a way. Because like we can understand the reasons, like it's not surprising us. We understand the effect, but we just like the world wasn't prepared for it to happen, so it comes off as chaotic to us.
You know what's interesting too, Sherlock. You brought something up a few minutes ago that was interesting.
I'm sure I did.
You have
motherfucker.
You have a view that's tied with a lot of people actually have that anarchy and chaos are synonymous.
No, see, that's the thing. I don't have them tied to that. That's just all I've heard them on, which is why I don't think about them.
Yeah, it's not necessarily.
That's a societal thing.
It's not necessarily you. It's just when people talk about anarchy, they tie it with chaos.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's like the words are linked, but they're not the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I found it interesting. Because anarchy itself, I've looked into that.
Really, you?
No, don't say.
Dick. but I'm
waiting for you to get the fucking uniform and lead a charge, man.
Even with anarchy though, chaos does not exist even in an anarchic system. It's just it's like Rob is saying, there's no control. There's not necessarily any like central source of power, but there is. It's completely free for.
Well, see, here's the thing. I think the reason that they're connected is that if a place falls into anarchy, it will become chaotic, at least at that time. Like these overthrowing governments, the reason they're appearing chaotic is because they were thrown into anarchy. It's not that anarchy can't work. It's that initially people aren't going to be prepared for it, even if they understand the reasons, and it's going to fall into chaos until order is restored, even if it's within the anarchy that order is restored.
For this to even be an arguable point, we need to set ground rules for what anarchy is exactly.
Yeah. Because it's like what I think what you say, Sherlock, is that more it's like disorder, not necessarily anarchy. When a government falls, it's just falling into disorder. You know what I mean? It's not anarchy. It's just simply no. How do I put it? Anarchy stems from having no rulers or no bosses. So it's like it's like direct control, really.
Well, here, let me rephrase then. Instead of using the word anarchy, let me say that if anything changes from what it is in a government setting, it doesn't matter if it goes to anarchy, if it goes to democracy, if it goes to anything, there will initially be chaos if it's too sudden.
Basically,
you're
saying there's no centralized government. There's no centralized entity controlling everything.
If it just switches from anything to something else without people being prepared for it, even if the reasons for it changing are good reasons, like you can have millions of people rioting for this shit, like in like peaceful, non-chaotic rioting, and that's fine, but that's still more than likely a very small percentage of the overall population that will be affected by the change, which is why the chaos comes after the fact. It's not the people doing it necessarily, it's everyone else who weren't involved, except sort of on the fringe. Yeah, it's sort of like that. So that's why I don't mean to use anarchy as like the specific. I was using that as a very generic term for any change in this case.
Yeah.
So forget I use that word and just look at it as any realistic change in power structure.
But you know what's interesting, the way you mentioned it too. I don't know why I always think about this. When like let's say a society was to fall apart into disorder, right?
Mm-hmm.
It falls apart in the same way that, let's say, like particles disperse after a supernova. It goes back to
what planet do I got to go to? Because fuck this one.
Because what I find interesting is that when we talk about chaos, right, it's usually about this disbursement from a centralized source. It's about disorder, what we call, but everything just gets decentralized. And that's where we perceive what we perceive to be chaos. Personally, I see chaos as uncertainty, and that's it. And I've also found it really interesting how we study uncertainty versus how we study complexity. Because if you look at, for example, like I think that's a big part of why we're messing up in this world right now too. Because when we look at how to fix something, for example, right? We look at, let's say we're looking at how to fix a watch. All we gotta do is break it down. It could be a complex thing. We break it down and build it back up, and we find exactly what was wrong with it. But let's say we want to figure out why a cloud isn't producing as much rain as it should. You can't do that same thing. You can't use that same complex, like you can't break it down by its complex parts. It's one system, and it's a chaotic system. So
you can.
Yeah, so the chaotic system itself becomes its own order. I think chaos and order are the two sides of the same exact coin, because order.
Well, that's what Rob pretty much said.
Yeah.
If he's saying it's on a scale, that means it's the same thing, just varying levels of it. Which would be it's like I compared it when he mentioned it in my head to our discussion about love and hate being basically what you just said, the two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, because to me it's like centralization and decentralization. That's chaos and order. So.
Have you ever found it weird that, like, when people look at explosions, they don't call explosions themselves chaotic, but they call the reactions that cause the explosions chaotic?
I didn't think about that.
I don't know why I was thinking about that, but I've never heard someone refer to explosions as chaotic, but they talk about the reactions of the chemicals that can cause explosions to be very chaotic. But why is it that, like, even when you look at, when they call it chaos when there are people rioting in the streets, that's a very small thing in the grand scheme of people themselves. Like, even if there's millions of people in a riot, there's billions of people in the world. That's fucking nothing. It's the same shit. Chaos always gets boiled down into much smaller fragments of an overall thing. It's never something that big. Like, even in the universe, like, they try to call it chaotic, but we proved it really isn't. So they refer to things like what's happening inside of a star being chaotic, but there's trillions beyond trillions of stars out there. So it doesn't really matter. It's something small that we found chaotic in something really big.
Well,
Why do you think everything small is chaotic?
We even look at if we go down to I forgot quantum physics, I believe it is, where you get down to like at the atomic level, or even smaller than that, the universe becomes chaotic in there itself too, because what we understand for the laws of physics breaks down completely in that universe.
Yeah, and the amount of fucking like tachyons and shit flying through us right now, like
tachyons,
like shit like that. Like, there's so much going through our bodies right now that there's fucking light penetrating us. Like, what the fuck? Like,
or light penetrating you.
Well, I am white. I absorb it. So. Turn it into skin cancer. Thanks.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I don't really have much more for chaos. Really, it's a subject I think about a lot, but to be honest, I know nothing about it.
Well, no one really does. So.
Yeah.
It's kind of the point.
Yeah, just people on the news think they do. Shit. So, Rob, Shaune, either of you got anything more on chaos?
Well, I mean, I think you guys kind of touched on it. Like, it's with chaos, it's like no matter how far, it's always how deep into it you are, and that's how chaotic it is. But as soon as you step back from it, it always becomes more ordered in the grand scheme of things. So, like, it's like, yeah, like you were saying, that riot's going to look chaotic, but if you step back, then it's like, you know, if you're looking at the Earth and there's a riot in Detroit, like, it doesn't look like there's a riot in Detroit. All you see is a peaceful planet, right?
I really feel like you should have an angel quote somewhere for this topic. I'm very disappointed in you.
Oh, what?
Oh, me?
An angel quote. It just seems like an angel had to have touched on chaos at least twice.
No, the only thing is that, yeah, if nothing we do matters, then all that matters.
Nothing we do ever matters.
So,
well,
actually...
no.
Oh, no, you can finish your point. Go for it.
Oh, no, that was pretty much it. Like, I mean, I don't know if there really is chaos, because I think if you're able to back up enough, it'll always look ordered. You know, it's just how you perceive it.
It's complexity.
Damn, that show is good.
All right. So, moving on now to something that Rob reminded me of by saying that nothing we does matters. Nothing we does matters. Nothing we do
Nothing
matters.
we do matters.
Yeah. So let's move on to death. But before we move on, I would like Josh to say the word at least once.
Death.
Thank you, Josh. All right.
Fuck you guys.
Oh, are we going to do a comedy show? I've been waiting. I really love Chris Rock on that. I love LL Cool J.
All right, so we talked a little bit before, and another one of these about sort of the idea of what was the actual topic we were talking? It wasn't death specifically.
I want to say it was religion.
Well, yeah, it was. Was it religion or was it sadness one?
I think it
was religion actually.
And sadness, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But I think we went into it a lot in religion, a lot more.
Yeah. I just know that we had a discussion sort of about what is the difference between, like, what it is to actually be dead, kind of, and gone. I think it was the sadness one where we really got into that part of it, but it was sort of like how I remember I was making the point that once I die it doesn't matter anymore, whereas opposed to Josh, you were saying that you technically never die because of what you left behind, kind of, with the people around you or whatever.
Not just your memory survives.
Your legacy.
Especially right now, it's really interesting because we're online, right? we're leaving behind quite a bit of information about ourselves. We're never gonna die in that sense.
Unless the server goes down.
The internet server. When Al Gore's apartment is lit on fire and all of our information goes with it.
But there's also another factor to it, and might be some hippie shit that I'm about to say, but
Here we go.
Yeah,
You
opposed to
never
everything
say
else.
hippie shit.
but what I was gonna say was when we die, we actually, we just fall back into entropy. Our elements just disperse, really. We go back to the planet, really, and we don't actually die. We just go back to the original process, in my opinion.
Yeah, and this was the sort of connection to our discussion before, how you were saying that, whereas I was saying once I'm physically dead, it doesn't matter anymore because nothing will be me at that point because I am gone.
But are you right now?
Yes. And Jesus Christ, Cat.
All over this.
Yeah, I'm me right now, and I will be me until I physically die. But in my opinion,
Will you,
once I
though?
am physically dead, yes. You can change as a person, but you never change from who you fundamentally are. Like, I'm still going to be me. Like, I can grow and change as a person, but myself, that core thing, is always there. But in my opinion, once I die physically, it doesn't matter if my information is on the internet. It doesn't matter what people remember about me because I'm dead.
I think there's one thing.
People
I think there's
remembering
one
me
thing
doesn't
too.
make me live on.
I think there's one thing too. I just want to get all your perspectives. Right now, up to this point, with everything that's happened in your life, and that you've taken in, what's your perspective on what happens after death?
Who wants to go first on that one? I'll gladly go first. I'm just asking.
Get on.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So your question is, what happens after death?
Yes, based on your so far, like what you've collected in your life, like what do you think happens?
Nothing. I think my body will get absorbed into the earth, like you said, but I just don't take it to such a hippie level as to think that that means I live on within the earth and I'm reincarnated as a fucking bee that some douchebag's going to listen to the buzzing of and consider it music like your ass. But when I die, because it always comes down to the fact that once I am dead, none of it matters to me anymore because I'm not there to care about it.
I'm going to go ahead and +1 that.
That's why I've never understood why people care if they get fucking buried or like fucking cremated or given to a hospital. Or who gives a fuck? Like, you're dead. They should be able to fucking eat you if they want to. Who gives a shit?
The hospital thing's kind of important.
Well, no, I understand that, but I'm saying like the people that would argue against having their bodies given to a hospital or something like that. Why? Just fucking be useful when you're dead. Like,
No, one word.
it's like you probably fucked up the earth while you were here. At least let them try to help something with your stupid corpse. Shit.
One word.
You already pissed when they're able to bring people back.
Oh, I'm gonna be furious. I don't want to come back. I want to die at all times. I want to die right now on camera in front of you guys. Like,
Oh, please.
how sad I be if I came back to life. All right, so Rob, you're just +1 to me. You don't have anything else, really?
Seriously, you die. The end.
Yeah.
I don't get all this. I'm sorry, but I honestly feel like the whole "you live on." That's just shit people tell themselves to feel okay with the fact that something they cared about is fucking gone, and they'll never see it again, and that hole will never be filled. The fucking end.
Now, bearing that in mind, though, I really want to believe shit like reincarnation and stuff like that. I've always been fascinated by that idea. I just I can't believe it.
Yeah, I can tell you my whole perspective.
No, you asked us. It's Sean's turn, motherfucker. I want to hear what this semi-religious dude says.
I do want to hear that too.
Let's go.
All right. So, like, based on, like, if we're talking about from everything, like, the entirety of my life, I the big answer is I'm going to say I don't know. Because I think it's easy it's easy to say, like, oh, we'll either go to a great place in the sky and we'll get everything we want and it'll be all cupcakes, or if you were bad, you'll burn forever because fuck you. Or I also think it's kind of like a little bit of a coping thing to just say, like, well, no, when it's over, that's it. And that's the end, and it's just, whatever. Like, I don't know. If I had to guess, I'd probably say, maybe nothing, but I do think the energy in your body does live on, and maybe it goes to something else, and maybe that's reincarnation some way, but the only thing that makes you is your memories and how it focuses you, so that brain energy going to something else, doesn't really fucking matter. You're not going to know what it is, even if
I didn't dispute that either. I said I just get absorbed into the fucking earth and make a fucking bee for Josh to listen to. Like, that's the same shit.
I'm actually allergic to bees, asshole.
Good. I hope it kills you.
Yeah. Well,
they do kill you in my second bee life.
That's how allergic I am. They do kill me.
This guy.
I hope I get reincarnated as a bee that stings your allergic son. That's what I hope.
What? Wow.
I hope you get reincarnated to a closed mouth and then do it.
What?
No, I know for me.
That was rough.
No, I know for me. I never was really focused on what happens after the death of my consciousness. It was more what happened to the ideas that I was spouting off or whatever. Like, what would happen to that? And this is why I love books so much, because they connect us to people who wrote things down thousands of years ago. We still get to hear the ideas. We still get to hear what they were thinking. And then you always look at it, and they were never alone in how they thought. You read from many different people. Thoughts were always very similar.
I have one issue with the point you're making right now, is that the things these people wrote, they're not here to explain them to us. We are interpreting their thoughts.
We're still reading their thoughts, though.
But if you're going off the idea that you survive through
no,
behind or whatever, all right, that's what I thought you were going for. That's what I'm saying. That can't work like that.
And I don't want to interrupt you.
Your hand is reaching for it, and he just knocked it the fuck away.
No, what I'm saying is...
No, if he says he's not saying that, then he really wasn't saying that. I just don't know where he's going.
Like, the first thing I started with was I never really thought too much on what happens after the death of your consciousness. That's it. I started off with that. So what I'm saying is that what I focused on was what happens to the ideas that I spout off or whatever during my life. That's what is important to me. It wasn't really like, hey, this is what happens to me when I die. Even to be honest, right now I even see myself as temporary. I don't see myself as permanent here. I'm here for a moment.
So. You ain't immortal, motherfucker.
No, but I've accepted that. So for me, it's like, what happens to my consciousness after I die? It's gone. Like, that's all there is to it. Now, what happens to the ideas I leave behind? That's a different story. We're fortunate to live in an age where we are able to record everything that we've thought for others to read, I guess. But it's not like we're gonna live on through that, but our thoughts will live on.
It's slightly troubling.
But that it's also they don't. That's the problem.
Well, actually,
interpretations of your thoughts live on.
Actually, but see, that's bullshit though, because your current thoughts, even right now, to other people are just their interpretations of what you're thinking and what you're saying. They never truly get the full onset process that's going on in your mind when you're coming up with these things.
No, they don't. No.
Like, so it's always going to be an interpretation. So whether it's somebody reading it now or 1,000 years from now, like that's why you always see like shit where people are like, oh my God, I can't believe when Joss Whedon did this on his show, that was a personal assault to my senses. And it's like, that's not what he was trying to put out. That's your interpretation.
I think my concern with this is that it's more like you've said, like your consciousness is done, like, obviously. Like, your body, obviously, it's just going to get absorbed into whatever, so that's gone. You're looking at a legacy of your thoughts and stuff like that. I just don't get how that attributes to being your death. That's separate. That's separate thing from death. I think that's why it's throwing me off.
Okay,
you're thinking of it as a physical, like the physical
no, I
body.
think it's just he's looking at an aspect of his life and attributing it to death. And I don't think that's the same thing. We're trying to talk about dying. He's trying to talk about the things he did while he was alive, living on after he's dead. Where the discussion to me is more what happens when you're dead.
I see. Well, okay, yeah, we have.
Okay.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
That's why. This is my bad for just being dumb about. I do this in every episode where I go on this shit and I was like, wait, I should have probably said this from the start.
If you would have just said that,
I don't know.
Got you.
It's just I don't know. Like I'm just because of how we're doing these talks, I'm just going as it comes in my head, and sometimes I don't know why I'm saying what I'm saying until I figure it out later. That's why I keep having these moments where I have to tell you what I meant because I just fucking figured out what I made.
We feel that way about you too.
So pretty much in one word, you were just like focus.
I guess, yeah. I'm sorry that I'm really bad at articulating thoughts, like on the fly talking. I'm used to writing down shit, so I have to backtrack a lot.
In defense of that, I don't think if we're gonna say oh well, what happens after death to your consciousness, then I mean that's yeah, we can go nothing happens. You're just done and that's it. End of story, end of podcast, end of whatever. But honestly, we really don't know.
No,
you know what I'm saying? We make up we sit here and we go no, that's it. That's it. That's the end. And it's you don't know though.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you may not remember, but who knows? You may be reincarnated.
Well, it's
that
important
energy doesn't die, right?
It's very important to note that Josh didn't start by saying, "What do you know happens when you die?" He said, "What do you think?"
Well, no, yeah, of course.
I don't know this shit happens to me. I might be getting fucked by Satan for the rest of my life. I don't know.
No, you're all right, player.
I've just decided that.
I mean, you get passed off to somebody else.
They gonna pass you to OJ. They gonna pass you to OJ.
See what's costing hell.
Fucked by some dude that looks like Squidward for the rest of eternity. Jesus. But yeah, I don't think
that would actually be your heaven, Mark Pellegrino. Fucking you.
I'm not Japanese. Oh, we're talking about Mark. I thought we were talking about Squidward still. But
you said that because you were gay.
I don't think that any of us here would ever say that we know shit. I think we can have rather strong beliefs in it just because the amount of time that we have believed it. But I think, at least for us, I think saying that we know shit is kind of harsh.
Wait, so let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Sherlock. Well, all of you really. Has your view on death changed over the years on what happens after? Has it were you at one point believing something happens after, and then it slowly shifted to nothing happens?
Yep.
Not for me that I can remember.
What about you, Rob?
I used to be heavy into that Christian shit.
Well, you said yes, Rob. So
yeah, he was the one that said yes originally. Josh, are you getting the black guys confused? What the fuck was that?
No. I heard Rob said yes, and then
okay. Yeah. I got confused because you asked. You were what about you? It's he said yeah, motherfucker.
No, I heard him say yeah. I was trying to get him to elaborate.
I got you.
No, I was. I mean, it's weird because it's just I was a kid. I remember I used to do slick shit hey man, I think if I could make a deal with the devil on some easy shit, and then he loses, and then I automatically go to heaven. I used to think stupid shit like that.
I really thought you were gonna do that fucking Supernatural episode about learning to play guitar.
Yeah, no. I would do stupid shit hey man, if I walk to this crack and I make it, if I don't make it, the devil can have my soul. But if I do make it, he's gotta leave me the fuck alone.
But were you serious?
I was
or
dead
is that just kid shit?
Serious
fucking really? That's actually surprising.
I was dead ass fucking serious as a kid. I didn't. A lot of I don't know. I still do practically very fucking clean, and a lot of that was due to fucking religion, because it was always, man, I'm gonna die, and this bullshit's gonna happen, And I remember our preacher tried to tell us once that, oh, the end of the world is going to happen in the year 2000. And I remember sitting down doing the math because he told us that every man would die. And then, I did the math. I'm like, I'll be like this age and I won't be considered a man. And eventually it just got to a point where I was like, man, I'm just checking the fucking box because at the end of the day, like, there was so much about that particular religion that fucking contradicted itself. And it's just like the idea was it was used to keep me moral, but the shit that I did is what kept me moral. Like being a good person is what kept me moral. I realized like I never felt like I had a stake in it either way. I never felt like there was a chance I was going to go to hell, and I realized that had nothing to do with like my devoutness or how much I believed in God. I just felt like that was kind of my reward for just being a good person in general. So when I removed the whole like pretense of, the whole heaven and hell thing, especially after I started to study it more, I just realized like, I don't know, I came to understanding that this is like every other religion that came before it, not incredibly special, and it's in the point right now where it's in the mode and the point in its development where all religions typically do, where the religion of a time kind of fights against the shit that its creators kind of said. I kind of stepped back and was like, well, some people it helps them deal with shit, but not me.
So for you, would you say you shifted more towards a like you accepted that you don't know what happens?
I mean, to some extent. I mean, I wholeheartedly feel that we die, that's it, But like, it's less of accepting that I don't know what's gonna happen, and more accepting that people who were fucking prophets of one guy or another don't.
Got you. And Shaune, have you shifted in your perspectives of death over the years?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess while, I guess mine's a little similar to Rob, but like, I guess like, I don't know, this might be too harsh, but like, I guess while Rob maybe shifted a little bit more towards like a kind of like atheistic view, I don't know if I don't want to put anything. Mine's a little bit more agnostic. If we were to like compare it, like I went from like, well, there may be stuff up there and down there, to I'm probably gonna go down there, to like,
No, you could have stopped.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna be there, so I'm gonna try and get to heaven now.
That's why it's your hell, because I'm gonna be there.
But no, it's just like it's kind of become a thing of like, man, I don't know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I guess it's always in the back of my mind because it's in me, like that history's in me. But like for the most part, whatever, man, whatever happens.
Well, that's sort of
how I flow through life.
As it is. It's just
that's
semi-religion of I don't know, basically.
Yeah, basically.
I mean, that's
like,
if someone asks me what I am, that's what I tell them, that I'm agnostic. I'm the same way. I can't tell you there's no God. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, my views on death have changed over the years. I used to be very into the Christian stuff too.
I feel like the odd man out this fucking shit now.
Yeah, I used to be very into it, but I was always questioning it. So it wasn't I was always skeptical of it, but I could never challenge that because the people around me were like they were solidified in it. So to challenge it was to challenge like your family, and so I didn't at the time until I left Connecticut, really, and then I was finally able to just take the time to study it, be critical of it, all that stuff. So my views on death changed after that, and it's interesting because once I let go of the concept of heaven and hell, the concept of life and death to me became so much more beautiful because it allowed me to live, allowed me to take the risk I wanted to. It allowed me to actually not fear death and just do my thing. But death itself, to me, it was always like a passive agent in my life because I always linked death with uncertainty, and so it became this passive agent, like always looming in the background, no matter what I was doing. And yeah, it just became stronger and stronger. But I find the human fascination with death to be odd because we're so afraid of the end. As well, some people are. I guess more or less you guys just don't give a fuck. But
I never said I wasn't scared of dying.
yeah,
I think to an extent we're all like slightly scared. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's because it's the uncertainty. It's maybe not be the actual death part.
Yeah, so like for me, it looms in the background, but for me, it hasn't become as much of a foreboding presence as it used to be. It's more of a unwelcome. It's more like an unwelcome guest in my house or something. That's just chilling, more or less. It's like, but it's not. I fear it still, but it's not exactly. It's not exactly. It doesn't dominate my life like it does. Like it used to. Like it used to control my decisions. So to death, more or less, it's still passive, but then again, it's active in my life, and I'm just not scared of it like I used to be.
That's weird because when I was your age, I didn't care about you know what I'm saying. I almost feel like I felt like I was invincible.
But did you go skydiving?
What?
Sean's got a few years on him, Rob. He's got a few years on him.
A few? Like,
how old are you, Josh?
10?
24.
He's 24. Sean's 29. That's 5 years. That's half a decade.
Yeah,
That's
I got
something.
like 5 years.
That's half a decade.
We're the same age, asshole.
You know, you're talking to this nigga like, you know, when I was
your age.
But I'm saying, like, 5 years ago.
I was your age, nigga.
When I was a little boy, like you. No, I'm saying, like 5 years ago, I didn't think anything about it. I didn't
But did
care.
you go skydiving, though?
No, because I was broke, nigga. I don't fucking have money to do that shit.
Black people don't jump. We don't go looking for trouble. It's not something.
Yeah, there's a difference between not caring or not being scared of death and then actively seeking it.
So what I like, though, is that looking at all this, like, I would say that overall, Rob and I probably have the most similar views on death. But Sean's pretty fucking close to it. Like, in general, we're pretty close. Josh, honestly, I think you still have reasonably the same thoughts we do. You just have a different way of stating it. But what I find neat is that you three have relatively similar paths of where you started with your views and ended with them, in terms of like having the religious background of pretty much the same one. I didn't have that at all, but we all still wound up basically at the same place. I like shit like that.
That's pretty cool, actually. Yeah.
A lot of people who are religious aren't really fucking religious. They were
at least not when they're older.
Yeah. Well, they're pulled into it when they're young by fear, and then they latch onto it when they're older by hope. Because
well, see, that was the thing. When I was younger, I went to church, but my family didn't make me go. I just went with a friend because I wanted to hang out with him. Like, I never went there for religious purposes, and like I learned nothing. I didn't pay attention. I was just coloring pictures of Jesus and shit. I didn't give a shit. I went for a social reason, and the religion never mattered to me. But I didn't have a religious family. They didn't care about that. They didn't talk to me about that shit because it wasn't part of their lives. So any interaction I had with it were from my friends, and I didn't have very religious friends. Not until high school really is when I started actually meeting. Well, I guess middle school at the end of it, I started meeting actual religious people. But I don't know.
They were no fun, were they?
What's that?
They were no fun, were they?
Oh, actually, the first person I ever started playing guitar with was one of the most religious people I've ever met. But he didn't throw it on me at all.
Well,
but he was the guy that all he does is listen to Christian music and go to church, like constantly, youth group every night. Never threw that shit on me. One of the coolest people I ever met.
So since we're on, I guess, death/religion, Let me ask you guys this.
Which are very similar.
This is a topic that comes to my mind too, a lot. Do you guys even think there's a such thing as evil? Good or evil? Is there even such a thing?
No, we sort of talked about that in another episode. Like, it's up to the person. Like, it's good and evil to individuals, not. That's it.
I don't know. I think to an extent we have a little bit of a contract of what's evil, maybe by society more so than.
It's not tangible, so it's like any emotion. You can't prove it.
I mean, I don't think my view of evil and your view of evil. Well, I don't know about actually.
Well, that's because your view of evil is Korean pop music. So.
Well, it is terrible, and only a monster would create it. So that's a good point. But no, like I mean, I think there are. I think to an extent there's like evil. I don't know if it's like the big bad. I don't know if it's like Buffy season 7. The big evil is misogyny. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like I think a lot of it is more selfishness than evil in general, and a lack of giving a shit about people. So I think it's more a lack of empathy than like saying like this is evil.
Do you think animals contain evil?
No, animals are the only pure shit we have.
Well, they're like kind of instinct, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't talk to these assholes about animals.
It's instinct. Like you can't put shit like that into instinct.
Wait. Dolphins get high. You think that's instinct?
Yes, absolutely. No, absolutely.
Josh, I'm pretty sure you actually believe that too. You fucking smoking motherfucker.
Escaping from reality is neat. I want to do that as an instinct. It's just
that's instinctual self-preservation.
I do like how that's your go-to though. Like dolphins.
Dolphins
dolphins like keep the females from fucking eating until they have sex with them. You call that instinct? Yep, that's survival. They do that shit to fuck.
Hey man, dolphins be playing basketball, right?
Man, I saw fucking Flipper spark a J. Tell me that shit.
No.
No, at least I think I did. I was high as fuck.
Dolphins actually get high on pufferfish.
Yeah, and
it's not like...
No, you brought this shit up, and I reminded you that eucalyptus is an incredibly powerful, like, fucking psychedelic, and that's all koalas eat, and they're just fucked up at all times. Like, but it still doesn't mean that they can eat that shit. No, that's sloths.
he says the shit like they're like planting
people.
Pupper. Yeah, like they have like a fucking
they're
weed
breaking
farm.
our houses and stealing money to buy pufferfish. Like,
I don't have a problem.
Dolphin broken in my apartment.
Hey, yo, son.
Fucking dolphins behind dumpsters just fucking scratching their flippers and tweaking. Like, Jesus.
Dolphins are thinking about legalizing pufferfish, man.
No, what I'm saying, though, is that, like, we say animals are just, they act instinctual, but I don't know, because I don't know if that's 100% certain. Perhaps they also make decisions like we do.
I think they make decisions, but I don't think they do it with any conscience in the first place. There's no concept of good or evil there. They're just making a decision. Like, I don't think that is, you can equate that to something like good and evil.
Yeah,
we have the opportunity to determine if what we're doing is wrong or right for whatever internal aspect we have. I don't think animals do.
You think we're the only
I think
on the
some
planet?
Some apes have shown that they like can feel regret and shit like that.
Will lie.
But a dolphin, they ain't thinking. Like, just doing shit. Like, they just make a decision.
Hey, dolphins can get high, man.
I just want to announce that.
This fucking narc here bringing up dolphins.
Awesome to me. It's awesome
No,
to me.
man, you sound like a fucking snitch.
Just fucking throwing these dolphins under the bus.
Hey,
for fucking
evil and everything. But before we get started on this evil shit, hey, y'all know dolphins are getting high? Damn, let them have something. Bottom shit. Defamatory movies made about him and shit.
Fucking dolphin reefer madness.
But no, personally with animals, the reason why I bring up the animals is because we attribute good and evil only to humans. Like, we're the only ones capable of it. Yeah, animals, for some reason, we somehow believe, oh, they only act on instinct.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you don't see animals like that kid on the YouTube. I'm bad! I do this because I'm bad! I'm evil! You know what I'm saying? You don't see, like
I got dolphins in my head!
I'm just saying, when a bear kills a dude, he doesn't fucking start teabagging him. Animals aren't Halo kids. Like,
well, it's because them broke-ass animals can't afford Xbox.
All right, well,
now, again, I mean, apes and shit like that, some of them I do believe have conscience to them, but I think that's something that we kind of taught them. Like, I don't think that was part of them. That? No, I think we did. Like, just when we started teaching them how to, like, fucking sign language and all shit like that, I think we taught them this. Because we don't see them being fucking sad about shit they do out there. Like, you'll see an ape being sad that one of its, like, family died, but that's not a matter of, like, conscience. That's that empathy, I guess. But they're not going to fucking go kill one of their own and then be sad about it. They had to kill him. Something made them do it. Like.
So what you're saying is they're all like Spike before he got a soul.
Yeah, they're soulless. Fuck animals. Soulless fucks.
I don't know. The weird thing about evil is what do you consider evil? What is it? Malice? What is it? Is it an act? Is it intent? You know, seem like that's what makes it so hard, because evil, like, I see evil as these rotten motherfuckers taking free lunches.
How the fuck did Josh get in here twice?
What the fuck is going on here?
How are you laying? This motherfucker was never here. He's at a bitch's house right now. That was a recording.
Your head is so big right now.
I'm starting to think you're evil, nigga. You got two of you.
Fucking.
Like
That's not even Josh on the bed. That's a fucking dolphin dressed up like him.
I like the.
He's been getting high with Flipper.
Pose Josh better. I like the sexy pose Josh better.
Anyway, real quick though, what you were saying, Rob, I think the word you said that what I normally attribute to an idea of evil was intent. But that's a word that I wouldn't use the word evil for it. I would just go with bad at the best. Like, why talk about good and evil? Like, it's no different than saying good and bad. It's the same shit. But I think it's all intent, and I still think it's all based on individual ideas of it. What's that weird fucking noise in the background coming from Josh? You fucking jerking off? What is that noise? Like,
you got him some pufferfish.
You taking a shit? Like,
he's writing an anti-dolphin blog.
Yeah, Josh, you're fucked up.
Is it fucked up when Rob went into his evil? Like, I just thought of like Eddie Murphy from
What, you saying he looks like Eddie Murphy? You
no,
play this fucking game?
No, it's just like when he's evil. Good. Now come with me now. Evil is good.
No.
All right, let's.
You weren't even there.
You mentioned intent.
Let's let Blair Witch Morales here.
I know, right? Hey, Josh, put on some headphones.
Oh, give me 1 sec. If I can find them again. Yeah.
Oh, he just left. He's like, I'm walking down the street. I'm gonna go buy some weed from the dolphins.
Did he go buy weed from a dolphin? It got quiet.
No, he's trying to put on headphones.
He had to mute so you wouldn't hear Hector the dolphin's name.
Don't trust that fucking dolphin, man. Don't trust anything that bleeds out the top of his head.
That porpoise owes me money, man.
Fucking snitches.
Fucking Puerto Rican activity over here.
Porpoise Rican?
Puerto Rican activity.
I just now actually got that. That was really like a good shot.
Your girlfriend isn't where you left her when you left the room? What, baby? Walk back in the room, a fucking Samba de Amigos just runs by the screen. What the fuck was that? You hear maracas and shit.
Fucking Cheech Marin and a dolphin in the other room. Jesus. All right, what are you gonna say before you start laughing,
Make
Josh?
fun of your culture, Josh. I love you, man.
Josh, you're muted, you dumbass.
I think you meant.
Is there a Is there a microphone in whatever you just plugged that shit into?
They found him. The Dolphins found him.
He's running. He's running from the Blair Witch. He's gonna pull his tongue out.
Look like cops by the border.
Is it sad that this isn't the first fucking podcast I've heard or had anything to do with that has made dolphin slander a big issue?
Imagine if Tyler was here.
Dolphin ass dolphin.
Anyways,
Can
you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Damn, dog, you are right.
So when you guys mentioned intent, I have a question too with that. Intent is what distinguishes good and evil, right? Is that what you guys said?
Nope.
Yeah. Well.
Okay, so people, let's say they have the best intentions, but they're participating in a system that's more or less very destructive to the lives of others.
This was already answered. This was answered when I first said it to Rob, that it is based on the individual. If you were doing
okay, sorry,
good,
I didn't hear that part.
if you think you are doing good, then it doesn't matter if everyone else thinks you're doing bad. You're doing good based on you, and that's what matters.
But I mean that's kind of a problem though, because if you think you're doing good, but your version of good is like I have to mow down 15,000 people to make people think that. Understand that.
I'm not saying it makes what that person's doing good. I'm saying to them it is good. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks if that's what they believe. It doesn't mean I have to agree that they're doing something good. I can still think they're pieces of shit, but it doesn't make them think they're pieces of shit that I think they are. It's too individualized.
Well, I don't know. You're kind of doing the thing that makes all modern villains the same now. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like, oh well, in their minds they're always thinking that, like, you know, this is a good thing that I'm doing, or like I have my reasons to do this, or this is completely understandable. But like, I mean, to a certain extent, at some point there has to be a line drawn.
There doesn't have to be. To that person, there doesn't have to be a line. That's the problem.
And this is why evil is so hard, because with that in mind, the only real way you can be evil is if you go, I'm gonna be evil as a motherfucker.
Exactly.
And you're gonna have to do it. And in that sense, you know, oh, is this motherfucker crazy? Is he even sane? And I think a lot of this hits because there's like this prevailing idea, just in the general world, not saying that anybody here believes it, that people are inherently good. And that's why there's such a pushback for it, because, you know, you don't have to be good, you just have to not be bad, and then you're okay. You know what I'm saying? Like a middle of the road guy, he's an okay guy. But to be evil, you know what I'm saying? Like you have to do some raw shit. And by this definition that we're dealing with here, you have to go, I'm being evil for the sake of being evil.
Yeah. Like the people that go out and kill people because they wanted to kill people. There was no reason other than they wanted to kill people. They're not saying that they're good. They're openly being like, no, I'm a piece of shit and I want to murder people. Like, that's the difference. Like, it's different than if someone goes out and kills people because they think that's what they need to do to save other people, it doesn't make it right that they did it, and we can still be like, you're a horrible person, but they think they did something good. That's the problem with the idea of good and evil, or good and bad in any capacity. It's just, all that's really going to matter on the individual level is what the individual thinks. They can be collectively punished because no one else agrees with them, but it doesn't change that they think they were right or wrong depending on what they pick.
Well, see, but that's like totally excluding the idea that like your mind can be changed, or someone can make you see the error of your ways.
No,
You're saying
that's
that
not
like you're
excluding
saying
it,
that
though.
like it's just like, oh well, hey man, touching these little kids seems alright to me, so no, I don't think it's a bad thing. They might even like it. It's like, no man, like that's bad because of this, this, and this,
No,
and then
see,
it
that's
becomes
the
a thing
thing,
like,
though.
oh, you're right,
If the
that is
person
bad.
doesn't believe that, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
That's the problem. That's not to say that that person, even the instant they finish doing whatever horrible shit they're doing, doesn't realize what they did was actually wrong. I'm not saying they're incapable of it. I'm saying at the time it didn't matter because they didn't believe that.
And let's look at this at a more macro point. There's points in history and places where that wasn't an evil thing at all.
There's shit completely unacceptable in our culture that's totally fine in other cultures.
So
And constantly Americans are going like, you fucking marrying your kids at 8, you fucking heathens. But we used to do that shit. Like, actually, did we do that shit here? Was that just over
Yes,
in England?
that happened here.
We did do that, right?
Yeah,
Fuck
that
yeah.
happened.
Oh yeah,
So-
kids are being given over to
Yeah.
dating in younger, just
I mean, that's sort of the progression of time in like a social setting in general. Is that like we constantly keep changing what we think is wrong and what we think is right, but it
But I guess
never.
that's my thing,
But that's
though,
the
so
proof
it's like-
that they don't exist. That's the proof.
If you're saying
Well-
like someone has to go like, I'm doing this because I want to, I'm evil or whatever, like, you know what I'm saying, like that. I feel like
No.
that almost negates the point. It's like you can't.
No, the problem is you're
almost
missing the
saying
actual
like you
point.
can't be
I'm
anything.
saying that there is no definable way as an individual past that. Collectively, as like a society, we can say what is right and what is wrong.
right and
But
wrong.
that doesn't make it right and wrong. That's just what we decided as a society to accept as being right and wrong. But if the individual doesn't think that they were doing something wrong, it doesn't matter beyond them. We can still punish them for it, but the punishment isn't going to, like, guaranteed make them decide that we as a society were correct and they weren't. That's why it doesn't matter past the individual level. It always comes down to what the person thinks. That's why it's technically indefinable.
Sound like a libertarian to me.
I mean,
Well,
and
this
the
is-
thing about it is, in when we're dealing with such like absolute terms, we're talking about like good. Good is pretty easily it's pretty easy. There's no absolute version of good. There's an absolute version of bad. We have good, we have great, we have okay, we have bad, we have terrible, and then we have fucking evil. And evil is, I feel like it exists because we do have those fucking crazy instances where motherfuckers do shit just like I'm going to kill for the sake of killing. We don't understand it. So stealing from a store is bad. Getting frustrated enough to beat a toddler to death is fucking horrible. But at the end of the day, like, we can kind of wrap our minds around it. This motherfucker probably shouldn't have had kids. He was probably fucking mad, couldn't control his anger. When we have shit like people going into the fucking movie theaters and blasting motherfuckers for the sake of blasting motherfuckers, well, then it's just like, well, what do you call that? Because that's not a crime of fucking passion. That's not taking a loaf of bread because you're fucking hungry and you just stole from the wrong person. That's fucking evil. Because there's no remorse for it. There's just total, yeah, I did it because this is why I want to do it, and no real point in trying to justify the fact. And that lack of the need for justification is why I think we really put it out there.
But I may be still misunderstanding this, but to Sherlock's point, he's saying on that individual's level, that's not evil to him. He's just like, it was just
if he considers it evil, and that's the point. If he doesn't think it's evil, what usually happens? They try to justify it. Well, these people are coming here taking this from us. So like the evaluation of his explanation.
I almost feel like it's the opposite. Like, I almost feel like if you're trying to justify it, then you know it was evil. If you don't,
because if someone knows they're evil, they admit it.
Yeah, and that's where the whole spectrum comes in. You do something bad that you try to, it's bad. The means, outweigh the the means and the just, all that shit is on a balance. When it gets to the point where you do the shit just for evil's sake, we don't have what other fucking word do we have for it? If a man finds his wife cheating and he kills him, we call that a crime of passion. If some horrible shit happens to a kid and their fucking family goes and fucks the guy up, that's revenge. You have justifiable killings. But in terms of straight up evil, where there is no remorse, no explanation, nothing in that individual's mind to try to delineate why this could happen, we call that evil. And we give it that moniker simply because it's so individual. It's so hard to understand. It's so hard to parse. And I think part of the issue with it is we take the word evil and we've watered it the fuck down. We really have. And so we have people who use evil and just really bad as the same thing, and it's not the same thing. And it's part of the reason why it's such a fun narrative for people in fantasy to really fuck with, because at the end of the day, the most evil of the evil bad guys turn out to be very fucking generic, because I'm evil for evil's sake, moo ha ha ha, and that shit's boring. And part of it is because we don't understand it.
Yeah.
I have no clue. Like, I mean, I just, maybe it's like messing. Like, maybe I'm not able to wrap my head around it. But I almost feel like that's in almost direct opposition to what Sherlock was saying, right? Or maybe not even so much that, but I feel like almost like you're speaking on society's level of what we're determining is what's evil, while Stephen's basically saying, like, look, it's individual, no matter what.
Yeah.
Well,
can I just say something?
Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
Okay. When I mentioned freedom earlier, for example, the reason why I mentioned that was because when we asked about that, we asked about who determines what is evil, who determines what is good, who determines what is bad. Is it the individual or is it the society? And this is where the are you able? Is everyone evil? Is evil even a thing? Because who really makes that decision?
Well, that's a good point. Oh, go ahead.
Well, it's exactly what Rob and I were both saying, because he was sort of talking more on the societal level, and I was talking more on the personal level.
Exactly.
But in the same way, Rob and I were completely agreeing with each other, though.
Yeah, no, you guys were. Yeah.
Because they both are just as important in the scheme of how it has to be looked at.
Yeah.
Society is going to look at it based on what society has decided is good and bad. The person is going to look at it internally the same way. But they don't need one another. You're going to get punished by the society. That's fine. Like, that's going to happen because we're within the society. But that doesn't determine what the individual actually was based on what they feel about the situation. If you don't think you're evil, it doesn't matter if everyone else does.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're punished for it, it doesn't make you evil to yourself.
Well, the thing is, too, what's funny is that there are certain actions where people, they won't think themselves, yeah, you're right, in the time, they won't think themselves evil unless someone else sees them doing it.
And in the level of awareness, that's a whole nother thing thrown into it, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's why, when a lot of times when we talk about people who are considered conventionally evil, there's usually talk about mental stability, the person's ability to really regulate themselves and see the situation for what it is.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think it was purposely put together to be a hard to reach goal. That's honestly how I feel about it. When we say it's to an individual person, I really think that was set up that way basically for it to be, this is bad and this is just the evil, the shit we just don't fucking get. And, go from there.
Do you feel like that's an us thing, though? Like, do you feel like that's I almost want to say an American thing because we're so individualistic?
So individualistic culture, yeah.
Like, it's because, and we can say that because it's always, that's how we think of everything is not how it affects. Go ahead.
Oh, no. What I was going to say, just to go on your point, actually, there's a lot of division that happens because of the individualistic culture. Everything gets blamed on the individual and what the individual thinks. And you notice how when we started talking about evil, the first thing we talked about was the individual. And and the thing is too, there's other cultures where it is more of a group thing, and the individual is kind of put on a backseat.
And it's a group thing, and they got that funky swing.
Nice.
But anyways, not individualism. Individualism by nature divides, and it also by nature makes everything hard to define, because now we're focused on 300 million people rather than a group of like 6. You know what I mean?
Right. No, and like the other question I was going to kind of ask is like, do you guys feel that these concepts are concepts that exist and we put names to them, or are they concepts that we named and then brought into reality? Like, were they things that existed before we had names for them, or did we?
I think they were. I think that they existed before we had names for them.
I think
they existed for us. I don't think it existed for, like fucking tigers. It existed for us.
Well, you don't think it's universal. You don't think there's anything universal about it.
Yeah, but I still think it is universal for our species. I don't think it's universal for all things, kind of.
So then how can it be individual? How can it be the individual
because
deciding?
the concept itself is universal. The definition isn't. We're defining it individually at all times. Like sort of like what he's been talking about with just the groups and shit like that. You can look at fucking abortion right now. People think that's evil. Some people think it isn't. Like, and they literally say they're fucking evil. Like, fucking, if you get an abortion, you're evil. You killed a baby. Like, all that shit. Like, that's just more of the proof that you can individually feel something about it, but what matters in terms of society is society. That's what, it doesn't matter. Like, you're not going to feel evil that you got an abortion if you don't think it's wrong, even if society is telling you it's wrong.
Check and check.
That's what I'm trying to say. I hope that makes more sense than all the other dumb shit I've been saying. But that's what I've meant by it. Like, just because people are telling you that something's wrong, if you don't think it's wrong, you're not going to feel like it was wrong. Like, you're not going to feel evil for getting an abortion because all the people outside the abortion clinic tell you you're evil for doing it with their fucking signs. Like, that's what I meant by it.
I mean, they could convince you, and then, but you'll
they
seek
could.
out someone that will
No,
agree
again,
with. Like,
they
the whole
could
point
convince
is
you.
that, like, I almost, like, I understand what you're saying, but it almost feels like that's why it feels like it contradicts the idea of, like, this is like a universal thing, because if we can't name it and we can't define it, then that's not something that can really call like a thing. You get what I'm saying? Like, if it can't be named, if it can't be defined, then why are we calling it a thing?
That's one of the things with language, and that's what's so fucking hard. We will give words to shit that we don't fully understand, and this is one that's always killed me, the idea of the create. We don't create shit. We just manipulate stuff. But we give the word create a word. Why? Because we need to understand some abstract concept and we don't fully understand. I could always say, you made this? No, the fuck you didn't. You modified it. You didn't create a damn thing. But when I say we create something, there's a general understanding. There's a baseline understanding. And only when you get into conversations like this, then you start to talk about how, well, what's here has always been here. And evil's kind of the same thing. You know what I mean? It's a concept that we gave a word and that we don't fully understand it. And that's why it's such a good boogeyman.
Yeah, our words are symbols. That's all they are.
What's weird about it, though, is that, like, you use create. Like, technically, the wind can create something, right?
No.
Technically, it can manipulate something into creating the Grand Canyon, or it can manipulate into forming the ocean.
Always there. I can say the materials for that were always there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying your concept is, like, technically creating for us is just manipulating shit into stuff.
But you could also argue that humanity has always had the urge to tear the throat out of another human being. But the moment that we decided to do it just to do it is when we experience the concept of something like evil. And that's from there, when the other people around it saw it, they decided to call it something. But it already existed. It just happened at that moment to be called something. Like, that's sort of what we're getting at.
But this is what Rob was saying. Yeah, words are symbols.
But it exists because of us, though.
Okay, well, Shaune,
it has a name because of us.
Yeah, what do you see as evil? Because I think this is where our wires are getting crossed.
No, like, don't get me wrong. I understand what you guys are saying. Like, yeah. It's not so much. I'm trying to boil it down because yes, I do think it's to an extent it's relativistic, right? But I think there are things that like a majority of us are going to agree on, right? And to sit here and go like, well, one person says, nah.
You're missing the point.
No, shut up for a second. Like, hold on. Like, I understand what you're saying, right? To an individual, like what they believe in is what they believe in, right? That universe is of them and to themselves, right? To an extent, right? That's what you're trying to get at, right?
Yes. Yes.
That's not going to matter when there are things that react against you, right?
Yes,
like, yes,
has
society
been admitted to openly multiple times.
He did, yeah.
But
Rob and I have both said that.
No, I understand. Like, all right, hold on.
I'm trying to understand.
Things can it doesn't matter what the individual thinks if the universe or whatever or a whole shit ton of people are reacting against you to enforce those laws, right? This actually goes back to our chaos and order thing. There are no laws to enforce the shit, then it doesn't matter if it's evil or not.
You did miss the point. That's the thing. Yeah, because the point is
evil does not necessarily have to have it does not have to have a societal impact. And that's what we were talking about with the whole the child thing. Like, that didn't have a societal impact, but if that individual thought it was fucking wrong, then it was fucking evil. If giving millions of dollars to a bunch of people, in my mind, regardless of how real it is, if that, in my mind, gets them all sick and kills their ancestors and I'm doing this shit happily, it's fucking evil. No one's gonna do shit to me. It's fucking evil. And it's completely and totally, even though as a society we like to deem certain things evil, the only reason why we do it is because there's a large group of people in a close area that have decided they've decided on an individual level that this is wrong. Us as a society, many people in it have decided that touching children is fucking wrong. So that's where our laws come from. But at the end of the day, in terms of it being evil, it's totally in the hands of that one person. And I think where we're kind of getting mixed up is it sounds like the person is going to go, well, it's not evil because I don't think so. They can't fucking lie to themselves like that. If they honestly think it's evil, then it's evil. But that definition doesn't allow itself for someone who's sitting around fucking lying to themselves, because if they're
why would they be lying to themselves, though? That's my point. Saying. Right, it's a concept that society created, and that's going to be enforced upon them. Right? You get what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter.
It's important to note that because 100 people believe something and one person believes something different, it doesn't make the 100 people correct. It doesn't make the one person right. They might both be fucking wrong, but they both believe what they believe. If those 100 people are in charge and they're going to punish that one, the one's going to get punished no matter what they believe. That's fine. That's society's decisions on what is wrong and right, but it doesn't make it wrong and right. It's just what we have accepted has to be done for the sake of order, going back to the original topic. It's just for order.
So I guess I'm trying to understand is then what's the point of saying something is evil in the first place?
Because
we put a word to it. Because people chose to put a word to it.
Yeah,
But-
we had to define something
but a
that we experienced. It was there before. It was
Yeah,
But
it was so egregious, and it was
That we
for
had to
the
name
sake of its own self
but
that we
a
had
certain
to
amount of people agreed that it was egregious, right?
If
the
the
people-
Like that group of people agreed that it was
the
egregious.
people in
right?
charge decided that it was egregious.
But this is the whole point,
it-
right? Like if we go ahead.
I think this is where the problem comes, because once you start bringing in
Dissecting it.
once you start bringing in what other people are going to do because of whatever the fuck it is you do, you're missing the point. It is completely not attached to any type of punitive measures. None. If the person honestly in their mind thinks that this is evil and they're doing it for the sake of it being evil, that's evil. The end. There's no fooling yourself. There's no, well, I'm going to bring this guy over and he's going to agree with me so I get off. There's none of that. It's pure and simple. It is by itself. What we do with that is based on society. So going back to the example I picked, if I threw out $1 million and I go to, it's going to kill all the fucking orphans, and if that's honestly what I think, it's evil. But by the United States government, that's a fucking tax write-off.
Here's the
You see what
question
I'm
though:
saying?
who's telling you that's bad though? Right? Is it just you coming up in the
If
concept
he
like
decides
in my mind
then it's bad.
That
This
does
is-
not matter.
this is
At
a
this
bad thing?
Yeah, okay, that does not matter though. That adds a bunch of different elements to it that don't really matter.
But you,
Because if I honestly-
I feel like you can't separate that though, because
But
if
you
like if
have
you
to.
feel like why are you gonna tell yourself like this thing that I want to do or this thing that I like to do is evil, unless someone else is telling you like, no, man, that thing has been evil in decision because of something that we chose.
Because then it's a floating point and it's absolutely pointless to even have the word. Because what we decide is right as a society. No, because what we decide
We've
as a
agreed.
society,
We put a word on something that already existed. Doesn't mean we
Yeah.
know how to define it.
we don't.
That's why we've argued about this for an hour
Well,
and a half,
here's the
because we don't
question,
know
though.
how to
You can't-
define it.
But you keep saying like we put a point on something that existed, but it's from people deciding that this is a bad thing. If
It's
I want
from
to tear out
the
if I want to tear out someone's throat, how is that considered bad? Because I'm tearing out another human's
It
throat?
might not have been originally, but
Maybe.
eventually we came to decide as a society it was. But that doesn't
and then
mean
we called it
that-
evil,
but
and then
it
society
doesn't mean-
decided what was evil.
We called it
But it
evil.
doesn't mean that everyone agreed with it. That's the point. There were still people who didn't think that was evil when the collective society decided it was. Who's right? Who the fuck knows? They might both be wrong. It might not be good or evil. Good or evil might literally not exist.
That's
But individuals decide it.
Everybody
like-
loses.
Like, that's why we all have differing definitions, except for Rob and I have pretty much identical ones on this one, surprisingly. But most people have at least small facets that are different about it. The reason the laws are set is because we can't rely on that, because you don't have order if it goes on individual decisions. That's why society has the laws set up to say, this is wrong, this is right. And you get more and more added in because we constantly keep making new decisions on what's wrong and what's right. But it doesn't make it wrong or right. It's just what society did for the sake of order.
So I guess the question was like, was our beginning question, does evil exist in general?
Yes.
So, but like what you're saying is that it doesn't. Like it's.
We're
it's a
saying it
concept-
exists if you believe it exists. If you believe evil is a thing, then evil's a thing. If you don't, then it isn't. It's individual. We can look at society. Society thinks evil exists. That doesn't make it exist. But if you think it exists, then it exists for you.
So it was never. So it was never. All right, never mind. Let's move on.
That's weird.
Because like,
But
but no,
Josh
because
understood
I
us.
don't think my question was it a concept before we put a word to it, or was it a word that we put? Was it a word that we made into a concept?
Sean, what is a word?
I feel like you guys don't understand what
That's
I'm
a whole new
saying.
episode, Josh. Don't even ask that shit.
I feel like you guys are like trying to like. It's
I get
not
what
a
you're
concept that would exist without us.
No.
No.
But I
So
already
it's-
said.
it's-
I already
so
said
it's
it's universal
shit.
to our species.
It doesn't mean anything. None of this like. It's shit.
Like, here, this
So
is
there
my
is no
problem.
evil.
I told you it is universal to our species. That right there says that no, it won't exist without us.
This is beautiful.
Why did this keep going if I already answered that? Earlier you said that our shit breaks down earlier when you dissect it.
Well,
We're
no,
the
but that's
ones
what
that have
I
been
was asking
dissecting
about.
it, not you. We took it so much further and deeper than you did.
That's why I asked about the creative thing, though, because he was saying like there's nothing that's really created. It's just being manipulated, right? That concept of creating and breaking down things and rebuilding them and reforming, that would exist without us. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that was brought up to illustrate.
But that's tangible.
Yeah, that was just the point he was bringing up.
Yeah, that was brought up to kind of illustrate that we use words and symbols for shit we don't always understand all the time. We just settled down on a specific idea, and we kind of and we watered it down, like I thought we did with evil. I feel like evil is one of those things that, you know, we don't fully have a grasp on, like, unified, but that it does exist and it gets watered down.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess the issue is, I was arguing that it's a man-made concept, so like without us, that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it is, right? Like, so on an individual level, it's not going to matter if you call it evil. If you don't believe it's evil, you're not going to call it evil. You're not going to say like, oh, I believe this is evil, because no, you're not even going to have a concept of that. Someone else gave you that concept, saying that the thing that you're doing is evil, and then you're going like, well, I decide if this is evil or not, but someone had to give me that concept.
They gave you the concept, but not the definition that you personally decided on.
But it's still a concept that's given to you. You get what I'm saying?
But
it's a concept we created.
Right, it doesn't matter. I'm not talking about the degrees.
Oh shit, he broke.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was just me or if it was him.
No, he broke.
Rob broke.
And a very interesting pose.
It was like a blowfish.
There we go.
There we go. A fucking dolphin gonna tackle him.
Gosh, go smoke him. You cut off that we.
Yeah, the idea is that, you know, it's like humans can take so much non-verbally. Children understand instinctively when they do things to other children that hurt that child. So no one has to tell that kid, like, hey, hitting him is bad. He sees it causes that child pain. So if that child then understands that concept and then decides that I want to hit him for the sake of hitting this motherfucker, nothing else, that is evil. He didn't need society to tell him it was bad. He didn't need somebody to come down and hit him with a fucking rule book from, you know, up high to tell him it was bad. That was his direct interaction with the world, and that helped him formulate things, and then he went from there.
But see, like, I almost feel like someone would have to go, like, if he's still hitting this kid, just because he sees a reaction, that does not mean that that's going to be...
That is correct.
That's not going to be a concept in his head, right? He's just saying, like, this does a thing, and I either like it or I don't like it. Usually what happens is I like this, then someone hits me and I go, oh, shit, I didn't realize that would hurt you. But that's the concept that they're realizing is I'm hurting someone. They're not realizing the concept of this is a good thing or this is a bad thing. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, they are. Humans have been geared to pick up these cues. Just like babies are born with features that we all of a sudden like, with the big, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, these things are kind of built in. Being able to pick up on these subtle things is imperative to human survival. So no one.
No way.
Another Blair Witch motherfucker showing up.
No way.
You kids ever heard of lighting? Shit. But yeah,
you
like
in a car?
I'm in a truck. How you guys doing?
Are you driving, motherfucker? Hang out.
I didn't know if this shit would work. I didn't know if this shit would work.
It's barely working.
We may not know the concept of evil, but we know the concept of stupid.
His name is Tyler.
I can hear you.
Tyler. How you doing, homie?
The white fog has come back.
I've been...
Please
I'm in Pennsylvania. I'm not driving right now. I'm
Oh,
parked.
okay.
But I'm
Cold
gonna
as
put some
fuck up there,
headphones
ain't
in,
it?
and then we'll start driving.
Cold as fuck up there, ain't it?
You gonna put your headphones in and start driving?
Yeah.
That shit ain't gonna work.
Yeah, it is.
Well, now that Tyler's here, it's a good time to end this podcast.
No, to answer your question, it is cold, Josh.
You know how warm? Yo, it's like 60 degrees over here.
Fuck you. No, this is the first time I've had to experience negative degrees.
Yeah, fucking sucks, don't it?
I thought that was the liberal media
Liberal.
telling me lies about the weather.
Yeah, you in the cold. Now what's your life like, fuck boy?
Cold. But it's not negative anymore. But there's snow. I've never seen so much snow.
Yeah, that was everyday shit growing up.
Are you driving back to New York, or you just driving back to your hotel or
Driving
apartment or whatever?
driving back to hotel.
Oh.
Yeah,
Say strip club, nigga?
No.
Hey man, I got these ones.
Hotel.
I am in Pittsburgh. There was talk about going to a place called Pittsburgh.
Nah, you don't want it.
No, I don't think
I
I want to either, man.
Those are some hard bitches, like hard to steal.
I'm working on a crazy ass show. I don't
Bullet
want to tell you
hole
guys what it's about because I'm not really proud of it.
He worked on the porno.
It's pretty,
You working on a?
pretty fucking close.
You working on Rumple Foreskin? Chitty
Whoa.
gangbang?
There'll be a day where I can tell you when I tell you it's gonna blow your mind.
I probably will have forgotten this conversation long before.
I've
Good.
already forgotten.
Good. So how long you guys been doing this? Since you tried to call me before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been going an hour and a half.
Nice. So what was the
It's
last thing
at
you
a
guys
screeching
said?
halt at the moment, but
Well, we were
very
talking.
deep.
We were talking about evil.
Evil. Okay. What about it?
All right, let's go.
Tyler, go fuck yourself.
No, fuck it. I like Tyler.
Jesus.
Well, we were in
What about it? A fucking
a
slit your wrist.
disagreement. We were in a disagreement about the concept of it.
Okay.
What about it?
What?
You're killing
What
me,
is-
Tyler. You're killing me. I want you
What
to
are-
be.
Killing the smalls.
All right, so let's get Tyler's inventory on this.
All right.
What is evil, Tyler? Go.
What is evil? It is it's a lot of things. No, I think it's if I were to break it down pretty simply, I would just say selfishness.
Yeah, that's kind of what I agreed earlier. But
Yeah.
we were trying to figure out, like, is that the concept of evil I guess I was probably using the wrong word. Is it a naturally occurring thing, right? Is it something that was there before we had a word for it?
I mean, if you talk to a Christian, they would say, people are born evil. And I would agree to that to a certain extent. I think people are naturally born selfish. I think one has to learn not to be selfish. I think it's natural for someone to be selfish.
So you just called yourself a Christian.
No, I didn't call myself a Christian.
Well, you
I'm
can
just
you can agree with something and not be a part of that something.
I guess. That's very good.
I want to just to be about religion. I mean, I'm kind of on the fence, but with that, I agree to a certain extent because I think evil is selfish, is being selfish.
Okay, then I think our disagreement comes from the very definition of the word.
Yeah, because I wouldn't connect those two words. Selfishness is completely different to me than evil.
Well, I mean, if you're selfish, you're very evil towards the wants
If you're
of other
selfish,
people.
you could just be looking out for yourself.
Yeah, like is it
Yeah,
evil
not
to be
yourself.
looking out for yourself over other people around you? That doesn't make you evil. That's self-preservation.
What about if it comes at the expense of other people, though?
It doesn't matter.
That's what I'm saying.
It only matters if you are being selfish to specifically hurt other people as opposed to doing it for yourself. That would be evil to me.
What did everybody else say?
We were kind of split on it, as you've heard.
Well, they weren't really split. It was me versus everybody.
Yeah, Shaune basically is with you. So Shaune, for the most part, agrees with you, Tyler. Like, you're fairly similar, whereas Rob and I think that it's a matter of personal intention. If you're doing something to do something bad, then it's bad. If you're doing something to do something good, then it's good, regardless of what everyone around you thinks about it. The individual decision is always going to be what actually matters. Even if you're punished by the society because they don't agree with you, it doesn't make them right, but it also you don't get excused from the laws that were set, but it doesn't make your mind automatically agree with them just because they decided that. That was our point.
And it doesn't make you automatically good or neutral. Just
and I guess my point was more like when you're at that level, when you're at that close of a level, it's almost like someone has to give you the concept that what you're doing is evil, right? If you don't believe it's evil, like you're not going to go like, well, I'm bad, I'm doing it because I'm bad. You're only saying that because other people are going to go are going to either recognize that, hey, that's bad, or like whatever. But if you do it and you have no remorse about it and you don't see it as evil, then it doesn't fucking matter because the concept does not exist to you.
No, the concept does exist to you. That just isn't your definition of the concept. If you do something that everyone else thinks is evil, but you don't think is evil, evil still exists to you. It's just that isn't it. That's the point.
I just feel like it's a concept that has to be given to you or set upon you.
I think one thing to really point out, I have to really make this point again. Doesn't matter where the fuck you got it from. All right, like I said with the money issue, if you do something that you believe is evil, it doesn't fucking matter why. Then it's evil. If for the sake of being evil and nothing else, you do it. You think it's evil. You do it for the sake of being evil. That's evil. So where you get it from really doesn't matter.
Let me ask a question. Do you think that people already know right from wrong when they're born, or do they have to be taught?
You have to interact with the world in order to figure that out.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think people are taught to an extent, but I think as you get older, you make your own decisions and your own definitions based off of what you were given.
Your experience.
Like I'm not disregarding what Shaune was saying at all, but I'm saying originally, it doesn't mean that it didn't exist before we gave it a name. Like that's not. We give things names because they exist.
Right.
Like that's why we give them names. Like, but even if it doesn't have a name, that doesn't mean that it wasn't already there. Like it's well known that a lot of ancient civilizations didn't have a name for the color blue. Doesn't mean blue wasn't there. They just didn't call it blue. We decided to call it that later. Like
they also have a name for various pantheons of gods that people don't believe in either. So
and it also doesn't mean they didn't exist.
I think we're gonna have to agree to disagree because what it basically boils down to is a difference in understanding what the actual term is. And when we're talking about does it exist or what it is, we're not going to be able to agree just on those.
Yeah, because that's the problem too. With concept, it's something you can't prove a concept, but you can believe a definition. So we're neither of us can know about the concept. Any of us.
To go along with that. What I said before. Do you think people are taught or born selfish, like to not be selfish? Do you think people have to be taught to not be selfish?
I think people are born instinctual. I think instinct is selfish because it's self-preservation.
But it's okay. So it's instinct. Like it's instinct to be selfish.
Tyler.
Right.
What is being selfish to you?
Only looking out for yourself and only yourself.
So do you think a baby's born and gives a shit about their mother's her teeth hurting?
Baby cry? Why did the baby cry? The baby cries
because the baby wants something.
Exactly. It's fucking selfish.
Is that wrong? If you're saying selfish is evil, does that mean babies are evil because they don't want to die?
You're missing his first point though. Like, do you think that's something that has to be taken from you, that has to be educated or whatever, indoctrinated out of you?
But it's
because some people it never is.
Yeah, for some people it isn't, but that's on them.
Self-preservation.
Your early life, yeah, like you go off of the definitions that are given to you, but I mean, obviously some people never change those definitions because they don't want to, or they just don't think they can.
Safety reasons.
The prevailing definition in America of what was right and wrong was whites stay with whites, blacks stay with blacks. That was the prevailing societal decision, and people broke that shit. So the idea that you have no control over what you're told and how you honestly feel about some shit, that kind of falls apart. And once again, we're gonna go back into it because it really sounds like just a difference in understanding the terms. And then as far as Tyler is concerned, it sounds like I don't want it to sound like being selfish isn't. Being evil is separate from selfish completely. There are degrees.
Right. I can agree with that. Yes. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think just in the end it just came down to different definitions.
It really does.
But I think
your Tyler.
Evil man.
Your connection's
just selfish.
Your connection.
Fucking robot fucking fax sound and then selfish.
Your connection's going in and out, Tyler. I'm trying to tell you while these idiots are laughing in the background.
He couldn't hear us. He was still talking. He said like 4 words and it lasted 30 seconds.
Tyler's gone. He's gone right now.
Jesus.
He's not coming back.
Well, what? Wait.
There he is. We didn't hear anything that you said, Tyler.
Some shit about how the internet works. I can't tell if it's fucking up because
You can't tell if it's fucking
I
up.
fucking understand.
I can't tell if it's fucking up because
Yeah.
Well,
I can't tell because I'm not a part of the shit.
You're good right now, so try now.
Dummy.
Try now. We can hear you now.
We can hear you.
No, we can't.
Tyler from the great
his shit's not moving. There's that one little white line on the top left.
Where you
there
lost me, but I'll try.
It's still going in and out, buddy.
It's like a T-Pain podcast. Like a T-Pain album.
Actually, hey, Tyler, check your
fault.
Tyler, check your bandwidth settings. I think you can lower the bandwidth so that you can come through clearer. So it's not as much.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. I think he did it.
Well, I can't do that while driving. I can't do that while driving.
You shouldn't be doing this while you're driving, you dumbass.
I thought you were still parked.
No, he's driving.
You just crashed.
Tyler, fucking be careful. Don't get killed over this shit.
Oh my God!
the sound cutting out made it perfect.
How hard is it? How hard is it to talk? People talk and drive all day long.
That is going to be the intro to this podcast. Him just yelling, "How hard is it?" I'm just going to loop it like 12 times in a row. That's going to be the intro.
You should be glad I joined this shit. God damn. Motherfuckers.
Yeah, it's twice now, screeching halt.
Hey, I'm on your side. I just don't want you to like fucking get mad at these assholes and crash.
I don't want him to
No, I ain't dying for nobody. Listen to me.
Well, you sound good now. So, what was your point?
All right. Well, I'm on a good road now. I guess I don't know what's happening. So I said, other things I would consider to be evil are like greed. But if you look at greed, that's also, one would say that correlates with being selfish.
But it depends. What if you are hoarding all this money for the sake of your family?
Of course it depends.
Yeah, that was Rob and mine's point. It depends on the intention.
That's
right.
I mean, that's.
But
go ahead, Tyler.
the majority of the time, the majority of the depends.
But does the majority determine that it's wrong?
You gotta let him finish what he's saying, though.
I'm gonna let you finish.
It doesn't go along. Can I finish? I'm gonna sound like Ross Perot. Can I finish? No, if it doesn't go along with the rest of the humankind, then fuck yeah, it's wrong. It's evil. It's bad. I mean, you can't just walk around.
We don't know when you're done. We have to wait for silence.
I am done.
Okay, see, that's where Rob and I would disagree with you.
Okay. Okay, well then, why?
We would agree that... instead of saying... I'm not going to put it as we now. I'm going to put it as I, because I don't want to lump Rob into everything I'm saying, even though we tend to agree on this. But if society has decided something is wrong, that is fine in terms of society. That is the law. That is keeping the order. You're going to get punished if you break those laws, even if those laws might get changed in the future, which have happened many times.
I agree with Sherlock.
But if the person who supposedly committed the crime did whatever they did for what they perceive as a good reason, it doesn't make it to them as being wrong. Society decided it was wrong. Society isn't necessarily right. If they were right, laws would never change.
All right, in Ocala, Florida, they killed a 15-year-old kid. I told you about this shit.
Yeah.
What if in that dude in the main killer's mind, he thought he was doing right? Like
then to that person, it wasn't evil. But to us, it is.
Who gives
That's
a fuck
the point.
about that?
That's the point. That's why society works off of a collective, and it needs it for order.
Tyler, what Sherlock is saying pretty much really simply is society's definition of evil is not always correct. Well, it's not even correct in general, and same thing with the individual. The individual's definition of evil may not be correct. So,
but that's implying that there is a correct.
No, that's the problem. We never said there's a correct definition. We said there are different definitions, and none of them are any more right than the other.
Well,
so you can't condemn one over another.
Yes.
That's like if someone tells you what they believe love is, and you're like, no, that's fucking wrong. How the fuck do you know? That's just what they believe it is.
Well, there's no...
I believe it's love is punching in the face.
Then love yourself.
Why the fuck are you... If there's no clear definition, why the fuck are you talking about this?
That's what this podcast is. We're talking about things that aren't clearly defined.
Okay, and then you never come up with a conclusion?
No,
there's no point.
None of it can be answered.
You can't conclude this.
Yeah, it's all about really just taking it like into it, really. Like,
we're just discussing it.
Yeah, well, like what really is evil? Is it an illusion? Is it something that's real? And then we talk about it and we find out.
Yeah, and sometimes we all agree on shit, and sometimes we don't. And if we don't agree, we just try to understand the other person. We're not trying to change each other's minds. We're just trying to understand where the other people are coming from.
All right, well, what's the next topic? I feel like we've
been doing this for 2 hours. There are no more fucking topics.
With that being said, I think me and Tyler are kind of thinking that it's an external thing.
Yeah.
That would have to decide what evil is, and you guys think it's maybe not purely internal, but like it comes a lot from your individual view on it.
No, I think it's more that there's just no definition is more right than the other.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a good place to stop.
So really, yeah. Okay, cool.
I want him to finish his point. What was your point?
No,
you'll probably be in 6 different places, you piece of shit.
Fucking in that truck with Tyler. Getting blown by a dolphin.
That puffer fish. I'm on that
dolphin. Dolphin Dolphins can't live in trucks. Come on now.
What the fuck? There was such a setup to that, and that's what came out.
I don't know why you're laughing.
I'm glad his shit's breaking again. Let's fucking end this while he's gone.
I don't know.
All right, Josh. What more of your point did you have, if any?
You're the one who made a terrible joke.
All right, we're just gonna stick to it. Everyone, different people in different groups have different definitions of it. None of them are more right than the other because none of it is tangible. It's just decision making. So let's end it there.
Dolphins can't live in trucks.
So thank you.
So there
Thank
you
you,
go,
everyone,
people.
for joining us. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Shaune. Thank you, Tyler. You fuck.
Kill whoever you want because there's no right and wrong.
Have you ever seen a dolphin?
All right, so we will see you guys later. Goodbye.
Have you ever?